been doing chiropractic now for close to 17 years, and what I like doing is, after kind of seeing the presentations that were being given through this organization, I wanted to, kind of stay in the same genre or do things similar but yet a little bit different. In terms of chiropractic, I am more of a hybrid. I'm what's considered a rehabilitational chiropractor. Or anyone who's ever been to a chiropractor, most of them are pain-based. Once you go, you keep going, and you keep having recurring pains. About me, I would be considered more of a hybrid in the sense that I am a cross between a chiropractor, a physical therapist, and an orthopedist. When you come to see me for any condition, if anyone in the room needs to, we will be sure that whatever condition you have is caused and is a result due to imbalances, overworking, structural weaknesses, things like that. If a tree is leaning to the right, any chiropractor can come in theoretically and pull that tree and say, look, it's straight. But as soon as that individual leaves and goes about their business, things are going to go right back where they were. And what I do, and how she was, giving a reference to, is we do treatments that you can be doing at home, such as exercise, just like this tree that we plant, that we stake to the ground, and we allow it to stay established for a period of time, and that tree to continue to grow and develop, in this case muscles. After a period of time, that tree now stays the desired shape, like bonsai trees for Japanese. And so what we do is, our goal is to teach and train. We are all prisoners of this body. God has put us here. We better learn how to live with it and how to make it be as optimally and as efficient as possible. And too many physicians and doctors will sit there and say, take this medicine, take this medicine, take this medicine. That's treatment. I completely don't do medicine. I am anti-medicine. I don't take any myself. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to shake the tree, so to speak. Tonight, instead of being about chiropractic, it's going to be about nutrition. I gave this presentation, and I slightly tweaked it for tonight. I gave this presentation about 6 months ago, and people were absolutely floored because this kind of information is widely available, but it's not being disseminated because there is no financial gain. This is actually hurting people financially for people to know this information. And so if I'm telling anything that is fraudulent or false tonight, someone please call me out on it. Instead of me trying to give a presentation, trying to sell you on chiropractic and why you should come see me, tonight is, if anyone is in the Huntsville area and desires to see me, I'm not going to sell you on chiropractic. I'm going to sell you on, whoa, this guy here has a totally different approach. This guy here shares information that we've never heard from another physician or doctor before. Okay? So if I keep doing the same thing you're all been accustomed to and exposed to, you're going to get the same results. If, however, there's a condition in the room where I'm tired of this way, there's got to be an answer, there's got to be something, you're going to have to step outside the normal model to achieve the results. So here we go. How to achieve better nutrition, or better health through nutrition. So, my question here in this room is, what do the next 4 slides all have in common? Seeds, fertilizers of any brand, any variety, pesticides, drugs. What do they all have in common? So again, seeds, fertilizer, pesticides, drugs. Does anyone have an answer?
Poison.
Who?
Poison.
No. The seeds aren't poison.
Artificial?
Seeds are real. They're produced by a plant. They're real.
But they might be genetically
GMO.
modified.
Okay? But,
Tampered.
okay? So, I'll listen. Seeds grown from last year's crops. Fertilizers used to stimulate and produce production of this year's crops. Pesticides minimize the effect of insects, molds, things like that. Drugs are used to treat ailments, conditions, symptoms. Pharmaceutical companies. Today's pharmaceutical companies are merging, acquisitioning other companies. And so our pharmaceutical companies now own, through subsidiaries, they own the seed manufacturers, the fertilizer manufacturers, they own the pesticide manufacturers, and they own the treatment of the conditions and the diseases that are so rampant in this country. So the pharmaceutical company gets you from the very start of production all the way to the end of death. So they have a cycle, and once you start to consume their product, you go to stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, see step 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wow.
So what they do is they either own or help develop all 4 of those devices right there. So they're in every step. So if anyone does their due diligence, they can see directly. Obviously, our Western health, our Western society has declined significantly every year, every decade, due to the advent of modern medicine. Obviously, we spend trillions and trillions, or I should say we waste trillions and trillions of dollars on research. Okay? There's no cures in sight. How is it we can put a man on the moon? We're now going to go into Mars. We're now doing all these amazing things. But yet every single year, every condition is we're having more diabetes, more fibromyalgia, we're having more and more of every condition. Here we go. Diabetes. Who's heard of it? It's everyone we know has some health condition. Everyone knows multiple people with diabetes. Cancer. We put all this money into cancer research, all these big extravagant cancer research projects. Tumors. How people have lumps or tumors always having to be removed all the time. Heart disease. Everyone seems to have heart disease. So-and-so has heart disease. So-and-so needs a heart bypass. So-and-so's on cholesterol medication. COPD. This person here has a hard time breathing. They need to be on a CPAP machine just so they can sleep at night. Kidney disease. This person's now having to go on dialysis. This person here is having to, wear diapers. This person's having to have these other conditions because their body is failing them. Strokes. Everyone's having strokes. Alzheimer's. We're having a greater and greater percent of our population now having effects on their brain where now they're forgetting all their years of memories and they're being kept alive by the drugs. And it's a hardship on the family emotionally, financially, physically. ADHD, our children. When we were all growing up, how many kids had ADHD? Now it seems like if anyone here is a teacher, kids everywhere have ADHD. Let's put them on Ritalin, let's put them on drugs. Dementia. People are going crazy. People are having, problems. So-and-so's got dementia. So-and-so's in the nursing home. So-and-so has problems. Diverticulitis. I can't eat these foods because it runs right through me. I'm having all these digestive problems. Infertility. People, my wife and us, we had a hard time at conceiving our one child. Many people now are having harder and harder times to have kids. Okay? Over the last few generations, 50-some years, the overall health of our country has regressed. So think about when each of you all were children, those of you are under 50, those are over 50. Think about the health of people around you in community. Now, obviously, the population's grown. Now look around. It seems like we know more and more people, heard more and more people who have sicknesses, illness, who have ailments. What's happened? Supposedly we're such a great country and all this money on research, we should be getting better. But we're getting worse. Why? Obviously, this says it all. Why is the answer, or why is the question? Why is it everyone we know is now taking one, or in this case, many different types of medication? So, what I encourage everyone to do is, that is completely right. Ring. Why do we keep doing this? What's it going to be like in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years if this is what research is showing us? What's the next step? What's the next direction? How much of this is going to be allowed to go on? How much longer are we going to keep doing this? Something has got to change. And people have actually started taking note and making some changes. Well, okay, it sounds good. Everything you're saying, yeah, you're right. I do agree with that. And I have noticed that, but I never thought anything about it. What is a person to do? Obviously, someone had said it, say no to GMO. That's the first step. Because if you go back about 50 or so years, that's when we started to say we need to increase our production. If we could just make this one change here, we would lose less to this issue here. We would, drought, and maybe this is more drought tolerant. Maybe this is more fungus tolerant. Maybe this is more this tolerant. If only we could do something, it's just not productive to have to let land rest. If we could just do something where we wouldn't have to do what's called crop rotation. If we use the same land every year, we could pump out the most highest paying crops every year. So they did research to say, bottom line is what matters. And so we got the development of GMO. So what exactly is a GMO? GMO is a genetically modified organism. It means someone has gone in and tampered with the DNA to allow the end result to be different. I ran across this image, and it's like, well, that's inside of a kiwi on the outside of an orange. That's a little far stretched for my imagination. Not really. Every day we're bombarded with GMOs. Okay, if we could only go to the store and could see listed all the ingredients that are GMOs and all the ingredients that were non-GMO, we would be horrified where GMO is found. Okay, it exists everything. Soybeans, cotton, which I'll show this again in a second. Those are staples of our society now. The biggest offenders are corn, canola oil, cottonseed oil, and soybeans. These here are the ones that are found in almost every single thing we eat and consume today if you go to the grocery store and you buy processed foods. There we go, 80%. Research has shown that 80% of the products we buy have GMOs in them. Okay, so some of y'all here in this room are old enough to remember this here. Who remembers when we were younger? I remember it. We didn't really have pink grapefruit everywhere. You would cut open a grapefruit because we had what's called the grapefruit diet, but there were seeds everywhere. Where all the seeds go? What did God just say? No more seeds. No. Where'd they go? Genetically bred them out. So today, if you wanted to have a grapefruit tree, you couldn't plant a seed the way Johnny Appleseed did, or in this case, Johnny Grapefruit Seed did. You'd have to have a cutting and take the parent plant and grow it from a cutting to have your own grapefruit tree. That's not how it's designed. That's not how evolution's been made. God didn't send an angel down here and say, go forth, take a cutting and plant it and spread cuttings through the world. We depend upon birds and animals to go out and to spread things. Not anymore. We've figured out a way around that. Seedless watermelon. Now that one there is a big number. In the South, you don't mess with someone's seeded watermelon. Yeah, it's convenient. Yeah. But everyone says, oh, the seeded watermelons just taste good. They're a hassle sometimes, but that's just what you're supposed to eat on a hot summer day. Now they're in full production of seedless apples. In about 2 years' time, they're going to have every apple on the market that's going to become seedless. We've taken the seeds out. Now, this became in light because of about 5 or 6 years ago, anyone who has small children or grandchildren, there was a big brouhaha that said we should limit the intake of apple juice every day because of the presence of cyanide in apple juice. Cyanide is in apple juice because they don't take the time to wash them, to peel them, to take the stems out, to take the cores out. They crush them. Cyanide is found in the seeds. It's called vitamin B17. It's a vitamin. It's called Latrell. It used to be sold about 60 years ago in every single store the same way you had vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin E. It was a vitamin in the stores. Vitamin B17 is just like the vitamin B3, you eat niacin, thiamine, riboflavin, B12. You eat it, it goes in your system. If there's a need for it, the body uses it. If you eat too much of it, it's expressed out your urine. Okay, it's considered water-soluble vitamin. What they found is cultures that eat lots of food that don't have processed foods, that eat lots of foods that are rich in vitamin B17 have the lowest cancer rates in the world. Has anyone heard of the Oriental region? They do not use sunflower, corn, vegetable oil. They don't use any kind of things like that. They use only apricot oils. So if you were to go to ask a Chinese person in a restaurant, what kind of, and they speak good English, what kind of oils do you cook with? Do you cook with like Crisco or Wesson or whatever? No, they go to a Oriental market and they buy apricot oil because it's traditional. Oriental people tend to live longer, have less health issues than we do. They know something we don't know. The people who live in India traditionally have much better health than we do. People who live around the Mediterranean, they eat a lot of olives. They do something we don't do. They actually, if you go to Italy, you actually go to a oil bars and you say cheers and you drink oil with each other. There's a certain kind of olive tree that contains more B17 than others. Guess what? It's not sold here in this country. It's not allowed in this country. And so what's happened is B17 has been removed. If anyone goes tonight, and I won't make any wild claims, and everyone in this room who's curious or knows somebody's ever been affected by cancer, type in vitamin B17 cancer and hit enter. In other parts of the world, when someone has a skin cancer, they take an apricot seed. They have to eat the apricot because there's no B17 in the flesh. They crack, it's in a bitter almond family. They crack the shell. They take the little teeny almond out of it and they grind it to a poultice. In China, they actually put that on a skin cancer and it kills skin cancer. That's how they treat skin cancer. People in China, they eat apricot oil with every meal. Every day they walk things, it's apricot oil. So they always have lots of fiber, more fiber than we eat. They always have a big concentration of B17. Well, by us taking these seeds out, B17 is only found in seeds. There's a few plants. The most prevalent plant that we know of that contains B17 is asparagus. So having acorns, we hear in the South a lot of acorns. Acorns contain a lot of B17. A lot of our animals here eat squirrels, rabbits, deer, things like that. Eat it. Have we ever turned on the TV and said, oh my goodness, the southern population of deer is being ravaged by cancer? No, because they have what's called the maker's diet. They eat whatever's in season. And that's what we should be doing. We should be eating, growing foods that's in season, eating them while it's in season in abundance, preparing for the next food. So we have spring, summer, fall crops, and then we eat the things that we've saved all winter, plus the the winter crops, which are fewer and farther between. We eat those, and then we come back in spring and start a cycle. Cancer rates in this country, out west, do your research. The foods they grow for production, they don't grow those for their own consumption. Why is that? Because they know something we don't know. Now, featherless turkeys. It costs a lot of money, and chickens, they cost a lot of money. Okay, what is that? It costs a lot of money to process chickens. So what they've done is they've genetically have made it where they're now featherless chickens. And so instead of having a chicken that's being raised and having to pay all that money to cool them in their little chicken houses, if you remove the feathers, you can spend less energy keeping them cool. You can now, when it gets time to slaughter them, you take away the extra steps of them having to boil the water, put them through a hot water bin to make the feathers, and then the machine that plucks them, you just take all those steps off. Now you hang them up, you cut them by their throats, and now they're going on the next step. You cut the process down so you can now, in the same processing plants, the same chickens, plus a lot more can be processed with less labor, less expense. And so that's a way for them to make more money. Spend less money to make more money. And so now they're breeding, like I said, featherless chickens. They'll be here within a decade. The days of having feathered chickens in these places will be bad. So if we have modified a chicken to be featherless, what's going to be in the meat itself? What's going to be what we're consuming? How is that going to affect our bodies? What are we going to see 30 years from now after a whole generation's had hairless chickens? So it may cause us to be, why do our kids not have hair anymore? You never know how it's going to affect us, because that is their hair, this is our hair. Okay, may having more men and women having baldness. Who knows? What's been happening is we've all grown up seeing this image of, monkey becoming caveman, becoming man. Well, what's happened thanks to the big companies is now man is becoming overweight. We're returning more to a pig. So we have a lot of people who are battling a lot of weight. And it's not our fault. People are, I'm trying so hard to lose weight. I'm trying so hard to manage my diet. You can't stop what we eat. When you eat and your body releases toxins through your breath, through your sweat, through your urine, through number 2. What happens if we're putting chemicals in our body that the body says, I don't know exactly how to break this out, or I'm not as efficient. I can't get rid of all of that lunch toxin before you put in more for dinner. Well, kind of like, I don't know what the water source here is, but every water source, according to federal standards, has to have only so many parts per million to be considered safe. Our bloodstream surrounds our brain. Our brain says, that's too much stuff. That chemical, that toxin, plus whatever water is necessary to dilute it, we're going to divert you into body fat, wherever your body fat is. And so what happens is people are having more and more problems with their weight. The body stores toxins in what's called yellow body fat. Yellow body fat is chicken fat. White body fat, which is too many calories, is your T-bone steak, ribeye steak, marbling fat. So what we have now is also toxin fat, or yellow fat, is dimply fat. So how does everyone know if they're toxic? There's all these gimmicks. Honestly, the best way to go home, close yourself in the bathroom, look in the mirror. If you see dimples on body fat, that is toxic fat. If you do detoxes of various types or stages that you feel comfortable doing with, you will see a before and after in terms of less dimples. Okay? So that's a good way to know you're toxic. So people are starting to speak up. People are starting to say, I'm tired of this. There's got to be another option. Well, unfortunately, there's only a couple options, and it requires some work. Companies are saying, we are going to do what the consumer demands, because obviously that's what drives our bottom line. Cheerios was the first major brand or product that said we are GMO free, because people said we don't want any more of this right here. And Cheerios is one of the few that is not sugared, not frosted. It is what it is. And so they went inside and said, we are GMO free. For those who want GMO free, we're going to make it. So not only does it have the fiber good for the heart, but now it's also GMO free. Chipotle. Now, I don't think there's Chipotle around here. There's finally one in Huntsville. Chipotle is one of the biggest national brands. They do not have anything in their whole restaurant that has any GMOs. And people are turning them in droves. They're having record sales, record volume. They're growing. They're the fastest growing restaurant, yes. And it is good. Okay. Oddly enough, they were owned by McDonald's, the polar opposite of it. And boy, McDonald's is kicking themselves in the tail now because Chipotle is literally eating their lunch. So, reason why, and this is now you're starting to see more and more restaurants or copycats pop up, is because they have been showing repeated quarter after quarter, year after year, record sales, record growth. People are seeing a big explosion of people wanting to take their health back and do these kind of things. And so that's why companies now are starting to offer more and more products to try to copycat because they're losing sales. Just because I'm in Huntsville, Earth Fair opened within a few years ago. That is Huntsville's first real regional health food type store where they actually have mass market. They don't have completely GMO free, but they are awful close. Whole Foods, which is coming to Huntsville in October of this year, they are really, really special because they do not allow any foods in their facility, meats included, that are not sustainable. They do not allow any pesticide use, and if so, it must be labeled, and they got away from it completely. So now they're pesticide free, they're GMO free. They actually fly stuff in every day, which they got to be close to an airport, which is Huntsville Airport, to be flying product in every day of the week. And obviously it's catching on. Actually, they're going to open in Huntsville. They're opening another one's called Sprouts, another copycat. And there's also a fresh market in Huntsville. Huntsville's going to have 4 different competitors, 3 just trying to catch up to this one company here. Even your major retailers, your Publixes, your Krogers, your Winn-Dixies, Ingles, I'm not sure what's here, you're now starting to see more and more of these brands. The one on the bottom right is getting a lot of attention because it's also become, within a matter of months, become the nation's #1 selling yogurt. And it's GMO free. And people are turning because they're tired of milk. They're tired of this right here. Smart Balance has been around for a long time, but the manufacturers who bought it made it GMO as well, or GMO free. Well, okay, so here it goes. I'm a rehabilitational chiropractor. Non-GMO diet have in common. That's pretty simple. Building blocks. You are what you eat from your head to your feet. Okay? It's the only thing we learn in school. But if you put in the best building blocks in your body, you can expect your body to perform at the best level. Look at athletes. Athletes don't eat what we eat, but they're being paid to stay at their best level. Okay? Well, no one's going to invest in us except for ourselves. So I encourage everybody to do the best they can to put the best raw ingredients in their body. And if you can't do the best in putting them in your body, do the best you can get them out of your body as fast as you possibly can. Well, much like we hear on TV all the time, these vehicular recalls, okay? Vehicle recalls are because they have inferior building blocks. They're cutting corners. They're sacrificing corners to maximize production. Sounds like a food industry. So I use this picture of Swiss cheese. This is our diet right here. What we're eating today has holes, gaps, there's deficiencies we have. Well, if you don't eat a certain thing today, no big deal, because the body has the capability to store certain things in its diet. Our bones, our muscles, our body fat. Okay? Some things we can store on the inside of the artery walls. Believe it or not, cholesterol is a very important thing. It's just we eat too much of it. Well, the farmers know, and they don't grow it, and they don't do something themselves. Why do they grow this stuff? They have to. Has anyone ever seen this symbol right here? That's a contract. On this mark right here is their contract. And if they have to label that there. If they are found, if a farmer is found to be growing crops that's not approved, the crops are destroyed, they pay a huge fine, and the government can seize their land. Gone. They have to do that right there. So they have, the Department of Agriculture makes them grow these seeds. If you were, in a minute I'll show you another slide. I challenge anybody who here this kind of tweaks their interest tonight. I challenge anybody to go to this particular catalog I'll show you in a minute and to order it. There are over 200 types of tomato plants in this catalog. They're all heirlooms. Every one of them is non-GMO. They've all been passed down from various parts of the world for people who have various diets. I grew up in Taiwan. I like my Taiwanese tomato. They produce the most authentic Thai food or whatever, Taiwanese food. Well, if you go to your grocery store, how many types of tomatoes do you have? How many types of bell peppers do you have? How many types of cantaloupe do you have? How many types of this do you have? How many types of corn do you have? Only a couple. Why? Because that is what the government allows. That's all they allow. So you're missing out on diversity. Okay? These companies here, we've all seen them, we've all had them in our home. They're all being told what foods they can buy, what foods they can sell. Okay? They're all GMO. They're all, government controls what they can serve to us. Theoretically, the government is telling each and every one of you tonight, you can't eat this food because we will not allow it. The government tried, unsuccessfully about 4 years ago, the government tried to ban, and there was a House bill, HR something, 27 something, no, 26 something, 2634 I think, there was a bill in place in committee where they were trying to make it where it would be illegal for you to grow in your home garden any seeds unless they were federally approved, and also was in the bill that you had to buy a federal permit to have a garden.
Oh,
It did not pass. It died in committee because the community, the people started to speak up and tell their representatives, don't you dare vote for that. But they've tried once, unsuccessful. Obviously that bill came up because someone thought that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Who would that benefit? So there is an attempt. Do you know right now it is illegal for you to go out and to sell in a store? These are my seeds that I grew in my garden. These are GMO-free seeds. I would like for you to buy them. You can sell your pecans, you can sell your walnuts, but you can't have a roadside stand selling seeds. You'll get shut down with the government, an agency. However, you can go online because online is not regulated. They're trying to figure out a way to regulate what we can buy and sell online, including seeds. Well, here goes. This right here is my visual of a store-bought tomato that was trucked and gassed from who knows when it was picked off the vine. And here represents the homegrown one. I challenge anybody later this summer when tomatoes are in season, just remember, who was that chiropractor that came? Ask her if you don't remember me. Take a homegrown tomato and put it on the table. You already had yesterday, because they waited for that tomato to turn red. You had this tomato here you bought from the store, put them both in the windowsill. The one on the right, your homegrown tomato, will rot so much faster. This one on the left will last so much longer. Obviously, this must be a better quality tomato. That's an inferior tomato. Far from it. That's why they last longer. The more nutritious a food has, the faster it breaks down. Within 6 hours of a food being picked, it starts to lose its nutritional value that fast. For example, stop breathing for 30 seconds. You lose a lot of value after 30 seconds, okay? Well, food's the same way. So that company, Whole Foods, the reason why it's such a big deal is they only put themselves near airports because they fly stuff in every day. So they minimize the time from picking to serving. So they have a tremendous amount of throwaways, but it's a little bit more expensive, but thanks to the oil and gas falling down, hope that means that their production costs will come down and it'll be more in line with our budgets. Okay? So, why would they do this? Well, obviously I've already said it, money. Companies have to follow the dollar signs. Every quarter, we as American consumers, we as investors, we as stockholders, shareholders, CEO, boards of the trust, or whatever, we expect each company every single quarter to do better and better and better and better. If not, you're fired, you're gone, you got a business, you're whatever. So they're having every single month, every single quarter, every single year, they're having to find ways to make it to where it's more profitable on the bottom line. Not just because of population growth, but because of efficiency, profit margins. So you're helpless, right? No, you're not. Okay, here goes. That's the first step right there. Grow your own garden. If you're unable physically or health land-wise, you can't. People are doing co-ops. If anybody has this wild idea, I want to have my own business. That right there, the co-op, is one of the fastest growing things. There's currently 4 in Huntsville. You're on a waiting list to get on them. And so they grow foods. You buy a share, $200 a year, whatever it may be. And every single Thursday or Wednesday, however they set it up, you go and you get an equal share of that crop. And so you're going to get so many turnip greens. Look at all these turnip greens. You freeze them, you can them, and you can continue to use them. Believe me, what you grew from this non-GMO co-op, even though you partially froze them, whatever, there'll be more nutrition once you go buy in the store in the bag. Oh, during the season here, there's a lot of tomatoes. We make a lot of tomato sauce. Our ancestors used to can a lot. A lot of green beans. There's more green beans than a person can stand. There you go. Freeze them. You can use it. But they did that there. Or you can grow yourself. If you do it yourself, that co-op may grow tomatoes, and you're not a tomato person. I'm not. But they may grow them. But you could say, I need only a few tomatoes for one member of my family, but we eat a lot of salads. You can grow a lot of different lettuces. Okay, you can plant them repeatedly. So gardening allows you to kind of basically pick your own diet. You know what you like to eat. Grow it to what you consume. What will save you the most money will provide you the most nutrition. But I don't know where to start. Seeds, fertilizer, pesticides. I don't know what kind of seeds to plant. Where do I go get good quality seeds? What fertilizers? I thought fertilizers were toxics. They're bad for the soil. They're bad for the plants. We eat the fertilizer because it's in the plants, Pesticides, there's so many bugs here in the South. But if Hey, pesticides, it's not organic anymore. It's makes us sick. Okay, here goes Baker Creek. Everyone today who has a garden should go to Baker Creek and ask for their catalog. It's free. It's about that thick. It contains over 10,000 heirloom seeds. Not one seed is not heirloom in the whole thing. That's where I get my seeds from. So I'm not a hypocrite. That's where I get mine from. And so I'm looking to say, I'd like to have that kind of pepper. I'd like to have that kind of tomato. I'd like to have that kind of broccoli, that kind of lettuce. And I grow it. So that's where to get the seeds from. And you can pick and choose. Oh, I haven't had a watermelon like so-and-so's watermelon when I was a kid. It was the best watermelon. Look at there. It is right there. Yes.
We went to Baker Creek
Yeah.
out in Missouri.
You actually visited there.
It's fantastic.
See?
Once a month, they have Frontier Day.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, there's people from all around. You can buy the seeds. And the thing that really amazed me, you can go eat in their cafeteria. They don't tell you it's vegan, but it's totally vegan. And you don't pay a penny. There's a thing there you can give a donation. It is super, super. And it's
But
organic.
the cost to get there is a little pricey. So unless you plan on going there,
Right.
yeah. So, but
We
it's,
went there.
But if you can go there, then this is the way to do it. You had a question?
I don't think they don't pass their catalogs out anymore. They're selling them, but they are at Kmart and Tractor Supply.
Oh, Baker Creek is?
Yes.
I go online and get mine for free.
But there's a man in Coleman that has some of the seeds
Mhm.
across from the Catholic Church,
Mhm.
an herbalist on the side of the Catholic Church
Yes.
downtown.
He orders a bunch in bulk and sells them.
Sell 'em.
Resells them. So, but if you may not like that particular kind, or you would like something additional, I like to have purple okra, because that okra can get 14 inches long and it's just as tender as 2 inches long. I like that okra the best. Then grow that okra. Well, I can't find it anywhere. There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a recommendation if anybody really likes tomatoes. A local man here, well, in Hansville, he grows something called ox heart tomatoes.
Pamela.
They're heirlooms, and I tell you, I'm 70, almost 71, and I think that's probably the best tomatoes I've ever eaten.
I've seen them in that catalog.
They are, if you get a chance, get ox heart tomato seeds.
But you can't get them at your Home Depot, Lowe's, Kmart. You can't get them. They're a specialty. But places like that, and that's just one example. That right there will pretty much if you have a childhood favorite squash or melon or whatever, you'll find it there. And they go throughout the world, and they're always trying to bring in new items every year they found elsewhere. Anyone here who has a Starbucks around? Starbucks has started a thing where they're trying to produce less waste. So now they have what's called coffee grounds for gardeners. They are now trying to convert all to GMO coffee. So there's no pesticides, there's nothing in them. So they're really trying to, because they're out in California, and out in California is leaps and bounds ahead in terms of health and nutrition. They actually give coffee grounds out. And here in the South, if you put coffee grounds in your garden or in your compost pile, here's this compost pile, here's another compost pile. Put coffee grounds in that compost pile. When you turn it in the spring, this will be just loaded to the wazoo with worms. It sweetens the soil. It's like a stimulant to them. It produces a lot more worms, more worm casings, better root structure, soil's improved, whatever. But they give it away for free. Also, too, if you try to, I love me some blueberries. There's certain fruits that you try to grow that need acidic soil. They don't like the soil we have here. You put coffee grounds in it. I just can't grow blueberries. Put that right there. You grow all the blueberries you can handle. So there you go. Something here which I had heard about 2 years ago, and I said I'm going to try this right here. And boy, was I in for a shock, because I've always liked to try to grow things closer together so I get more production. And I have more of a raised bed garden myself. I heard about this, so I'm going to try it. And so I bought, it's called azomite, and it stands for A to Z of minerals including trace elements, azomite. It only exists in 2 places in this world. One is in Canada, one is in just outside of Las Vegas. And what it is the glaciers years ago came across a certain type of soil structure, a certain type of mountain, and it ground them and pushed them like a silt in the Mississippi Delta, and it deposited them in 2 locations that we can access. And it contains every vitamin, every nutrient that's found in the human body to the same concentrations that we are. And so by putting this in your soil, it does not burn a soil. It does not burn a root. It does not burn a plant. You can spread it on top of the plant. You can put it on the plant, put it on the roots as you stick it in the soil. But it does best when you put it out in the wintertime and you allow the bacteria to start to break it down. But what it does is it puts all this in here. Why does a bell pepper taste different than a tomato, taste different than an okra, taste different than a squash, taste different than a lettuce? Because that plant has absorbed and brought in certain vitamins, certain nutrition, and that concentration and component of those certain things renders a taste. So if you want to grow the best tasting foods possible that plant can produce, you have to give it every single thing it needs and let the plant decide what it needs. So give this to your tomatoes, cover your whole garden with it. And if that plant wants it, it's there. It's available for its use. If it doesn't need item A, but it needs lots of B, it won't absorb A. But the next time you plant from that same ground, the ground is no longer nutrient deficient. It's nutrient enriched. There'll be plenty of A. But each year you plant or put this in your ground. And over time, it enriches your soil with every single component any plant or any garden plant would need. Well, how does it work? Like I said, it's mineral rich, volcanic ash deposit that was dragged down, contains all 6 to 7 trace elements essential to all plants, and it restores the plants. And they've actually done studies how when we were in elementary school, here's this bean seed here growing this way, this one, this much light, this much water, this much fertilizer. They've done a study, and the plants with that right there have done that. There's actually a co-op near where my mom lives, and he only uses this right here. He was a farmer. He farmed on 1,000 acres for production. He is 60-some years old. He now farms on 100 acres. He does this right here, and he produces 10 times the crop on 100 acres than he did on 1,000 acres. And so he buys it by the pallet. He was like, if you ever have a question, come by. Oh, come by and see my farm. And he is converted to a co-op farm. He is now Georgia's largest co-op farm. Restaurants from all over Atlanta go to him.
So he uses only azomite?
He uses azomite.
Just azomite? Wow.
As his fertilizer. It's only fertilizer.
Fertilizer, yeah. Wow.
Next is what's called fish emulsion. A lot of the Oriental people, because they have so many fish around them, they eat a heavy fish-laden diet. They take their bones, nasty as it sounds, the heads, all the parts they don't eat, and they basically put in water. They let the natural bugs and the bacteria break it down, and the result, when it's all processed or fermented out, is called fish emulsion. There is a reason why on the back of everyone's cars, y'all are all in the church, you all know the symbol of the fish symbol. The fish has the exact same protein matrix as the human body. Exactly the same. So if we put in the exact same protein matrix in our soil for our plants fertilizer, we will get foods that are made and fertilized for our specific needs. So it gives them, once again, it's another version of that right there. So, here it goes. If you drive around and you see areas where there's lots and lots of crops, like I said, you used to have a lot of crop rotation. You don't have that anymore. Wow, why is that? Because it's GMOs. You don't have to crop rotate. You don't care what nutrition is in the plant as long as it produces quantity, volume, water, fertilizer, pesticides, done. Well, here in the South, Japanese beetles, stink bugs, squash beetles, cabbage worms, black rust, aphids. They're everywhere. Okay? You got a battle on your hands fighting those critters. Don't worry, we'll go get something from the store. We'll buy it and we'll take care of them. Yeah, right. Well, here it goes. I don't want you to buy anything from the store like that. Very few retailers have this. In Huntsville, there's one place called CT Garden that contains everything. They have a whole section of biological, no pesticide. Everything I'm about to show you is considered organic. So you can eat it all, wash it all off. It's not harmful to the human body. First is dipel. Does not know if you can read this or not. It's a biological insecticide. You spray it on a critter, a bug, a worm eats it. It has a bacteria that kills it from the inside. It shuts it down, the bug turns over, dies, dead. And it's the only powder that you can spray on things that is not harmful to bees. Why do our bees keep dying? Somebody had a jar of honey, I thought that was a tea. 7 dust actually kills bees.
Yes.
Where's the bee population going? The pesticides we're using is killing the bees. So farmers who have gone more homestead like Baker Creek, they don't use 7 dust. For the plants they need to do, because they're in business to make seeds, they use this, and they have lots and lots of beehives around because they sell honey. And they use their bees as their pollinators. Well, you gotta have bees. You gotta protect other insects. I did this nice, I had meant to put in the last time I did the whole thing. I didn't have time to put a picture here. There's 3 things anyone here in the South who grows fruit crops, primarily the tree crops, your apples, your pears, your peaches, things like that. We're having more and more problem now because of these things that are being brought in from our food that's not properly treated or inspected. So now there's what's called dormant oil spray, lime sulfur spray, and spinosad. Dormant oil spray is essentially an oil. An oil basically coats things. Lime sulfur spray, it is very acidic. It hurts them on contact. And spinosad is another biological insecticide. If anyone goes to the woods, this weekend when it's warm or whatever, how can you tell if this tree in the wintertime with no leaves is living or dead? If you see algae growing on it, it's living. If you see no algae on it, you see fungus, it's rotting and decaying. What we have is there are bugs that are living on or in or just underneath the bark of our trees. A living tree produces a chemical that does not allow it to freeze. The wood does not freeze. Therefore, it's living tissue. The buds come out next year and you get new growth, new plant. If that tree limb is dead, there is no chemical that keeps it from freezing and it kills it all. An organism, including algae, has to live in a living organism. And so what we have is, how are you going to kill these bugs? It's like every spring they come out of nowhere on my trees. They bore into my trees. They kill my trees. And so you use dormant oil spray right now this time of year. In about a month, you'll start using lime sulfur spray, 2 applications of each. And then right after that, right before it starts budding, you do the spinosad. But as that sap is going up, it happens when a certain temperature. So if the sap is going up, the bugs that are in the ground are going to start to go up because they're going to start to feed off of that nutrition from the plant. So the spinosad, when they go to eat that sap and make their little boreholes in it and start eating the bugs and they come out, it turns them upside down and it kills them. So there it is, spinosad.
So you can use that against Japanese beetles, among others. Yeah.
And you can read about them, when to also use them during the growing season. Next one is neem oil. Neem oil is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And where it comes from is amazing on top of that. Anyone knows what a mum is? Every fall we have mums everywhere. If you crush that mum up, and it's related to the mosquito plant people might have outdoors in the fall, or marigolds. You have marigolds around your patio, you'll have no mosquitoes. There's an oil in it that repels mosquitoes. Neem oil is nothing more than ground up mum plants. They've extracted the oil, they've made an emulsion with it, and they sell it, and you mix it like 2 ounces per gallon, and you spray it. It will kill almost every single bug that you spray it on. But it's used for certain plants because certain plants have, like squash, have more stink bugs. This particular plant has more of this. Well, certain things are more effective than others, and you want immediate results because you want to maximize your crop. Next is pyrethrin. Okay? Amazing as well. Okay, plant-based, you spray it on, it kills everything. Okay, you can use it on like your grapes instead of 7 dust. Okay, it's easier to spray than it is to powder. The only problem with all these things, as soon as it rains, it washes off your plant's vulnerable, so you have to go back out and reapply because it is topical as an outer barrier. Okay, versus what's in the ground, they put pesticides in the ground, so when you go buy organic tomorrow, organic means they've put nothing on once the plant has been planted. What they do is as they're tilling the soil and they're planting the seeds, they're spraying pesticide in the ground. So the pesticide is absorbed in the plant and it goes all the way to the fruit. So even though it was not sprayed topically, it's in the plant itself. Okay, here we go. Why is this? Because the bigger cities you are, you're dependent upon the food that's being brought in versus the smaller cities. More people in the smaller cities grow their own food because they don't have that Walmart right next door that sells GMO food. So you see in this country, cancer rates, health rates are different. The farther away from the bigger cities, the better the health is. There we go. Like I said, the maker's diet. Grow as much as you can. Eat it abundantly when it's in season. That way you get that concentration of vitamins, nutrients, vitamins, nutrients, vitamins, nutrients. That's what deer do. That's what everyone else should do. That's how God intended. That we don't have deers that go stand in line at Walmart waiting to get their whatever's in season. Okay? But they don't have disease like we do either. There we go. Become nutritionally complete. Eat what's available. Eat a lot of it. Your body will have the proper ratios, and a result will be health. Take control of your health. Obviously, if you have physical pains, ailments, weaknesses, you come see somebody like me who does rehabilitation. Grow your own garden. And if you can't grow your own garden, or you don't have the means, or you don't think, I don't have a green thumb, I don't have it. A green thumb comes because of you have the right fertilizer, the right seeds, and the right protection and water. If you can't do all that, find one. Or talk about it. Form your own. It sells itself.
Amen.
And it actually works on the larvae version. Okay, so when, for example, Japanese beetles. Okay, Japanese beetles are everywhere. They go to the ground, they put an egg in the ground, and it lives off the roots in the ground. And we call those grubs. You put milky spore out because you want to do lawn control and you don't want those brown spots in your dirt. It works on larvae who eat it, typically better subterranean or underground. And it's also, you can also, it doesn't help a lot if your neighbors aren't doing it. It makes a dent in it. But if you're on a big farm and you're putting that on 100 acres on every side of you, you have hardly anything in the middle. So it's very, very good. It's another way to do it. But it's only effective, or it's most effective, if everyone around you is using it. If you're the only one using it, it gets what's there, but it does not get anything that migrates in.
What was it you were talking about there?
The milky spore.
Oh.
Put it on there in the winter.
Yeah.
So, yes, ma'am.
Some of us have or had fig trees.
Yes.
And this past year, these bugs
Bored
bored
into
into the
Yes.
thing. And after I actually left, my person who mows my lawn just told me to just leave it. And some people cut them down.
Oh.
And I did get the fruit. I
Mhm.
still got fruit, which the bugs weren't in the fruit.
Mhm.
It weren't,
Bless.
not as much fruit. But what I did after the season was over is I did cut those down, but I burned
Yes.
what was left. Do you think, I was just gonna wait and see if maybe it would sprout again?
It will sprout as long as the roots are living, but those bugs are subterranean. They're going to come out. Or if there's any living tissue, they're still in it. You've already turned this off.
The Roundup is
DLS.
killing the host plants to the monarch butterfly too.
Well, what's funny about Roundup is used commercially. The Roundup we buy is very, very weak. So take 1 tea bag to a 10-gallon container. That's the concentration we buy. Now take 50 tea bags to 1 gallon. That's what you go by if you actually have a license. You go to a co-op and you can show that you obviously have that little seal, you have permission to have it. They actually spray it. Corn, soybeans, cotton, they're actually been genetically modified that Roundup will not kill them. So when you drive down the road and you see those perfect cornfields without a weed in them, soybeans without a weed in them, oh my goodness, how is that possible? There's weeds right there, and next door there's dandelions everywhere, but yet a dandelion won't grow there because they spray it and it kills everything on contact except what is genetically made to absorb it. A corn plant will absorb Roundup. You can pour Roundup in the root and it will still absorb it and it will still grow. But if you eat it, you're in trouble. So right now, I'm not being silly, nothing serious. Right now, I'm a woman. I don't condone this. I don't do this, nor have I ever. I am going to go smoke 100 pounds of marijuana right now, and I'm breastfeeding. I'm going to give that right there to my child or my developing fetus. Okay? Well, if you spray Roundup on a plant, that Roundup on a plant is putting it in its fruit production. It's its baby, so to speak. If you are a mother and you are a mother chicken, you don't nurse your child. You have the egg yolk, which will turn out to be the chicken. You have the egg white, which essentially is the mother's milk. That's why they say, and that carries all the pollutants. That's why they say eggs are the most polluted food you can eat in any one given day. There's more pollution, more toxins in the egg than anything else you eat all day long. I have chickens now for that reason. I don't want my daughter to eat that. And so that's why you're seeing a huge explosion of chickens. Huntsville just tried unsuccessfully to pass for people who are having this fear of how bad they smell and how loud they are. It's Huntsville just missed by a couple votes an ordinance like every single consumer who desires to have chickens can have up to 3. It missed like 2 or 3 votes. But it's happening more and more. Chickens is currently the fastest growing livestock thing there is, because everyone is starting to get them in our home. It's just going to be a very, very common thing. People were, first it was, I don't want caged animals. I want, free range. I want free range. Well, don't get a free range chicken. Their egg yolks are yellow. They're not yellow. They're orange. Okay. Do you realize that chicken houses in their feed is food coloring? That way, all their eggs are consistently one color in terms of their egg yolks. But if everyone's ever seen on a chicken I can't think of a barred rock, their egg is a different color. They're inside their egg. Their egg yolk is a little bit different color. You get this kind of bantam chicken, this kind of Cochin, this kind of this. Their eggs are different size, different colors, and their egg yolks are a little bit different. Some have bigger egg yolks, some have smaller egg yolks. Some have more white, some have less white. They're all different. But it's what you put in here. It's what you demand. It's what you dictate. I just shared with her, I'm planning on getting goats. Okay? Goats is becoming more and more popular because that's what Latinos and that's what Muslims eat. They don't eat beef, chicken, and pork like we do. They eat goats. There's a big thing going right now just outside of Huntsville, Elkmont City, or Athens, I should say, where they're actually having a goat cheese farm. It's becoming one of the fastest growing, largest producing goat cheese things in the world. And they sell their cheese in every state in the country. And what I was sharing with this young lady right here is I'm getting goats because I want to try to help. And there's a threatened, nearly an endangered breed that I'm getting. And this particular breed is the only breed of goat that has cheese that melts. If you eat a cheese pizza with cow cheese on it, it melts and it's stringy. And if it's cooked with goat cheese, it stays crumbled, and no matter how hot you get it, it stays the same shape because it has too little milk fat in it. The particular breed I'm getting is the only brand of goat that produces cheese that actually will melt like goat cheese. And so restaurants will soon be wanting to put goat cheese that will actually, because it now is like, it will melt, it'll be better with their food, it'll be more what we're demanding. It won't fall off our food we go to eat, it won't just fall off the sandwich we eat it on. And so, but people are starting to speak up and demand different things. And people can become more and more health conscious. So today's generation growing up now, a lot of them are going to choose health. And each subsequent year, all these stores that are doing things, all these entities that are doing things, are going to be changing. And our consumer is changing. Our diet's changing. And companies are either going to have to go with it to capture the dollar, or they're going to lose the dollar. And so, by your very action of how you choose to spend your money, what you tend to buy, will directly affect both your health, but also what's going to be available for us. So we have to be selfish, take care of ourselves first, and if we're all selfish, and we all, for example, turn away from the golden arches, the golden arches will change what they service. And so it's just a choice.
Okay. Would you like to have prayer for us?
Sure.
Oh, you had another question? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Are there any eggs that you think are healthy, organically grown, or is eggs we shouldn't mess around with at all?
I highly recommend eggs. I highly recommend it. Eggs are getting a very, very bad misnomer. Oh, don't eat eggs. Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are so bad for you. Oh, they got too much cholesterol. They're so bad. If it's truly a free-range egg, support someone local who grows them, then there's no bad ones. Because it's only what the animal's eating that's being expressed out that egg determines its overall health. In some countries, they eat egg with every meal the same way that the Chinese eat rice every meal. And guess what? They live longer than we do. They have better health than we do. So it's the type of egg. Now, you eat the old 12 to a dozen what you get in the grocery store for whatever. Yeah, if you eat a lot of those, you're not going to be doing too good. But a homegrown egg has a ratio of mono and polyunsaturated fats, less saturated fats, less cholesterol, which is a necessary ingredient for nerve formation, than the homegrown ones. So it's healthy. My question for anyone here is, think about anything. Let's use eggs as an example. Would God produce an egg for us to consume that would be harmful for our bodies? If God produced it naturally, through natural means, it's good for you, no matter what the food is. But if it's a food produced for consumption, for mass marketing, for money, to keep you in that cycle, that's not the way what He intended. So,
What do you think of pomegranate seeds?
pomegranate seeds are becoming more and more popular. They are becoming what the blueberry was a few years ago in terms of the it food. You know, goji berry is not very big here. Acai berry is not very popular here because it doesn't grow here. Pomegranate does. And so obviously it's grown in California abundantly the way almonds are and things like that. And so it's becoming more and more popular. We're seeing more and more juice. Now you're seeing a chocolate-covered pomegranate seeds. I mean, you're seeing all kinds of things. They're finding different applications of it. Pomegranate bread, pomegranate this, pomegranate tea. And it's because people are finding out it's good for you, and they're trying to find more and more ways to put it in your body because it sells. Health sells because we demand it now. Yes.
But God didn't give Adam and Eve eggs, He gave them plant food.
Right.
So He didn't make them for us to eat, He gave them to make animals.
True. But we do consume it.
Well, we don't, but some people
Well,
do.
some people do. Yes, some people do. But I'm just saying. You know, just literal. But if it's in His cycle, it's not harmful.
Well, He allowed certain things, but that wasn't.
Right.
That
I mean, it's His intentions.
had to eat
Right.
them.
But I'm just saying. But
Yeah.
He doesn't make a bad apple. There's no such thing as a bad apple. We as people are bad apples, but He does not make a bad apple. He does not allow things to be grown or developed that are harmful, poisonous, or toxic to our bodies. They're supposed to be beneficial. And we as people need to eat, grow, raise things to glorify His name. And of course, the different religions have different beliefs about, you know, this, that, and that. And so I won't get into all that. But we're all here to do the best you can.
Yes.
Physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, charitable. Do the best you can.
But I do believe His original diet was His best for us, and I would rather go with His best.
I mean, I would too. I mean, and I think we as the consumer, we as the Christian population, we are as a genre, as a group, we are going more and more to the original Maker's diet. We are doing that more and more, and
Well,
we're
the
finding.
Maker's diet isn't that. That's something different. I'm talking about the original diet in Genesis 1:29.
Well, when I call the Maker's diet, I refer to it as what He produces in season. So maybe we'll change it to a seasonal diet. So what He makes
You're
available
not talking
this season.
about the commercial thing.
No. I don't mean by that. To me, I mean Maker's. What does He produce? When does He make pomegranates? When does He make apples? It's
Oh, yeah,
seasonal.
definitely in
So what I
season.
call Maker's diet is not the promotional version, because that's for money.
Right.
But the Maker's diet is what does He make that's plentiful and grown in April, in May, in June, in July,
Yes.
in August, September.